Here is something that might change the way you start tomorrow morning. His name was Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, and if you have not heard of him, you should have. He was one of Japan's most celebrated physicians,
That
a man
backs
who
him up.
spent over
Your morning
75 years
routine might be
practicing
quietly.
medicine, and he passed away in 2017 at the age of 105. Right up until the end, he was still working, still sharp, still warning anyone who would listen. And his biggest warning was not about surgery or medication or some expensive treatment. It was about mornings, specifically what people over 60 do and do not do in the first hour after they wake up. Because according to Dr. Hinohara and a growing body of research that backs him up, your morning routine might be quietly tripling your stroke risk. And the strangest part, the habits he pointed to feel completely harmless, normal even. Things like lying in bed a little longer, skipping breakfast, reaching for your phone. This is good news in disguise, because if morning habits can raise your risk, they can lower it too, and that is entirely in your hands. Today, we are walking through 5 habits that silently stack the odds against your brain every morning, plus the early warning signs most people wave off as just getting older. Stay with us. By the end, you will never look at your morning the same way again. Habit number 1, skipping morning water. Most of us roll out of bed, head straight for coffee, and maybe take our pills. Water usually does not cross our minds. You have just gone 6 to 8 hours without a sip. Your blood has thickened overnight, more viscous, slower moving, and more prone to clotting. That makes circulation harder, and it puts real strain on the heart and brain just to keep blood flowing. A study in the European Journal of Neurology found that low morning hydration contributed to nearly half of first-time ischemic strokes. Not genetics, not a lifetime of bad habits, just dehydration, a state many of us wake up in. The fix is simple. 1 glass of water at room temperature before anything else. Before coffee, before pills, before the news. Think of it like oil in an engine. Your brain needs that water before it runs hot. Simple enough. But habit number 2 is trickier because it feels like you are being kind to yourself. In fact, most people think they're doing the right thing. Habit number 2, staying still in bed after waking. After a full night lying flat, blood pools in your lower body. Your veins, which after 60 are naturally less elastic, are not pushing it upward as efficiently. When you sit up and stay still, scrolling your phone or watching the morning news, your heart has to work significantly harder to recirculate that blood. For anyone with plaque buildup or elevated clot risk, those still moments are exactly when things can go wrong. The fix requires almost no effort. While still lying down, roll your ankles, flex your toes. When you sit up, do a few slow shoulder circles. Take 30 seconds before you stand. Those tiny movements prime your circulation and make rising dramatically safer. 2 minutes. That's it. Movement handled. But habit number 3 is going to hit closer to home because there's a good chance you've been told it's actually healthy. Habit number 3, skipping breakfast. Intermittent fasting has its fans, and for younger, healthy adults, it can have real benefits. But after 60, skipping breakfast creates a specific risk for the brain. Your brain runs almost entirely on glucose and cannot store much of it. After a night of sleep with no food, your blood sugar is already low. Skip breakfast, especially while on blood pressure or diabetes medication, and you are creating the conditions for hypoglycemia. When blood sugar drops too low, the brain suffers first with dizziness, mental fog, and in someone with compromised circulation, a potential vascular event. This is not about a big meal. Half a boiled egg, a spoon of yogurt, a few walnuts. Just enough to stabilize blood sugar and support the medications already in your system. After 60, breakfast is not optional, it is maintenance. Like topping up the fuel before a long drive. Habits 4 and 5 are different because they are not about what you eat or drink. They're about what you feel, and one of them starts before your feet even hit the floor. Habit number 4, rushing into stress. Diving into the mental demands of the day the moment you wake up, like checking the news, reading emails, or having a tense conversation before you have even had water. Here is what is happening physically. At dawn, cortisol, your stress hormone, naturally spikes. Blood pressure rises and your cardiovascular system shifts into a higher gear. This is normal, but if you pile psychological stress on top of that natural surge, you amplify the response significantly. A large study following over 93,000 people for more than a decade found that individuals with high early morning psychological stress had significantly elevated stroke risk, even accounting for age, smoking, and blood pressure. The risk was highest in people over 60, and it peaked in the first 3 hours after waking. 10 quiet minutes before you pick up your phone, a slow cup of tea, a gentle stretch. Think of your brain like a computer that has just booted up. You would not immediately run 20 programs at once. Give it a moment to be ready. That is not a luxury. That is neurological hygiene. Now we have reached habit number 5, the sneakiest of them all, because it looks on the surface like a perfectly peaceful morning. But the research tells a very different story. Habit number 5, prolonged morning stillness. You've made your coffee, maybe had a small breakfast, and now you're settled in your favorite chair. Quiet, still. It feels healthy, gentle, like you're being easy on yourself. But a study published in Circulation tracking over 8,000 adults over 60 found that those who spent more than 9 hours a day sedentary had double the stroke risk even when they exercised later in the day. Stroke risk is not just about how much you move, it is about when you move. When you move in that first hour after waking, you activate circulation, signal the cardiovascular system that the day has begun, and dramatically reduce clot risk. When you stay still, the body assumes you're still asleep, and that stagnation quietly becomes one of the strongest predictors of stroke later in life. The prescription is not a gym, it is 5 minutes. March in place while the kettle boils. Roll your shoulders in the kitchen. Walk to the end of the driveway. Just tell your blood it's time to flow. These are 5 ordinary things that feel completely harmless, but quietly stack the odds against your brain every single morning. No water, no movement, no breakfast, straight into stress. Then an hour of stillness. Not one of these changes requires money, equipment, or a life overhaul. A glass of water. A few ankle circles. Half a boiled egg. 10 quiet minutes. A short walk. That's the morning routine that could genuinely protect your brain. Your body wants to function. It wants to circulate and heal. We just have to stop putting obstacles in its way, especially in that first hour when it's most vulnerable. Drink your water, move a little, and have a gentle morning. Your brain is worth it.